Hi friends, it's Peg, and today it's Thursday, and we did Art Joy is Sharing live stream on my other channel that I share with Shall C. And today's medium, because Art Joy is Sharing for this month is all about mediums, is one of those that I haven't had out in a while. And because Shell was using modeling paste, molding paste, whatever you want to call it, I decided I'd use an M word too, so I got out my Magicals. So you see me playing with these powder pigments and just mixing them up on the page. This is a fun thing to do when you just have some time to play. You can make a lot of different papers to use in your work and your tags and your ATCs and whatever you want to use them on. Just colorize some paper using these Magicals. Now, they are water soluble, so you may need to spray seal them or something if you want to put some more work over the top of them. But I just wanted to get a few cards started so that I have something to work with today. Not every time we do this do I finish a project, but I thought today I am going to finish something. It's an hour-and-a-half show, and I wanted to work on that. So I'm just showing them. I got a big pad of watercolor paper from, not Walgreens, from Walmart. And you can get these big 9x12 pads and cut them down, and that's what I did. You can see I made several different pads out of that one 9x12. I made a 9x6 and a 6x6 and had some extra painty paper here that I can use on this project. So you can make that watercolor paper go quite a ways and make it the size that you want to make it. 9x12 watercolor pad was just a little bit bigger than I wanted, and they didn't have the smaller size in store. So I got out my big cutter and I just cut it down. I took the spirals out, of course. You do need to remove those and cut those with a pair of side cutters and then put them back in. So now I am using a stencil. This is a Tim Holtz Rose stencil, and I'm going to mix up a couple of different colors, just making like a watercolory paste out of this. Instead of sprinkling the dry powder this time, I'm going to water it down and make it into a watercolor. So I'm adding the yellow to the center of my roses first, and then I'm going to come back with this fuchsia. This is actually a mixture of the two different powders from the two different companies, and they work just fine together. I had a number of different powders, and so this is what I came up with. So I'm drying that down, and you can see how, yes, it did slide underneath the stencil, but where the stencil was, that's where the shimmery part of those powders pooled and made a really pretty effect. So now I'm grabbing, this is a Dina Wakley journal. It's a 6x6, and it's got this really nice cotton paper in it. And I have a stencil and mask from Tracy Batista. She has designed this for Stencil Girl products. And I love this stencil mask combo. It's one of my favorites. As you can see, it's been used many, many times, and it's a well-loved one. So I'm just adding this around, and people are asking me, well, how do you keep the stuff from flowing underneath? And I'm not. If I wanted to, I could have put some pixie spray or something on there to stick it down to the paper before I did this. However, I did not. I wasn't that concerned about it because I'm going to add more color and have it flow out to the edge of my paper. So now I'm getting the purple Magical, and I'm just taking it dry and tapping it down onto the wet surface where I've spritzed the surface, getting some other color around the edge of the page and letting that blend together. Then I'm going to put the stencil back on, and I'm going to dry it some more. I want to be able to come back and use my pencils and pens and whatever on this later. But for now, I'm just going to get my Catherine Pooler inks out. and I'm going to use the stencil as a stamp. So I'm mixing up the ink on my stencil, and then I'm going to take a brayer and I'm going to put that down. I want to come back and get the center of my flower there a little bit more, so I just come back and do it again. And now I need to let that dry because my page is really quite wet. So remember that rose paper that we had created. I'm going to cut this down and I'm going to put it on a card front. I decided I was going to make a few cards today because these are smaller pieces of that watercolor paper that I'd gotten. So I have this pearlized yellow, and I thought with the shimmer in the Magicals, that would be a good color to use for a backer, and a nice pale pink, which is kind of like the rose color. And I'm going to layer those up. Had a little bit of difficulty getting them squared up on my page, so I have several tries at this because, yeah, not real happy with how it's turning out. And of course my hands are dirty too because I've got Magicals all over me. So I'm trying to clean me up. I'm trying to clean up my card a little bit, get it centered a little bit more. And there, I'm a little bit happier with that one. So now I need some kind of sentiment to go on here. And I'm thinking, well, what do I have that's fast and easy? Well, I have a punch. This is from EK Success. And I'm going to punch it out of both of those cardstocks. I'm going to back the yellow piece with the pink piece and offset it just a little bit to give it a little dimension. And then I'm also going to get some foam tape. We're talking about the tips on the glue there in the live show because people are asking about the glue. This is Art Institute glitter glue, one of my favorites. I buy it in the large jug and I refill my small ones, and I use the little metal tip so that I get a real fine application for that. Okay, so now I've got this piece and I want to add some more to it, and I'm looking at my inks and trying to figure out what color I want. So I have this Catherine Pooler in this limey green, and it's kind of translucent so you can still see the things behind it. And then I thought, well, now I want to use a more opaque, and I'm pulling out these Distress inks, Distress Oxides, because they are an opaque ink. It has a pigment in it, so it's going to be a lot more opaque than the other, and I'm just not happy with the color because I want it to stand out across that background, so I go for one of the dark browns, and I'm going to trim that out and add just a little bit more because I think it needs just a little bit more with that brown opaque ink, and then go around the edge, give it a little depth. And I finally take a Sharpie pen, a big fat Sharpie, and edge the card. I'm going to use just a neutral brown color for the background, but this is a Tim Holtz stamp, and my stamp pad was kind of dry as I was trying to stamp this. I'm glad I had it in my platform so that I could reposition and, stamp it over and over again because it was not coming out crisp and dark. And eventually I decide, even though I changed my ink, it still was not dark enough. So I got out my clear embossing powder, and I ended up embossing it with some clear embossing powder just so that it would stand up off of that background because the background is quite busy. And I wanted to make sure that you saw the sentiment that I'm stamping on here. So there's my cardstock. Going to cut that down to half a sheet, which is, it's an 8.5 by 11 sheet, so it becomes 4 1/4 by 5.5. Folded in half, it becomes a nice note card, standard size, and then I can glue that down to my card front. So we have 2 cards done. Yay for me! I finished something today. So I'm just going to stick them in my notebook and let them dry flat. So I'm still waiting on that other piece to dry down, and I have my third background piece here. And I thought, well, gold would be pretty on there, and I had these stickers that were just sitting on my desk. These are, what are they? They are Elizabeth Craft Design stickers, and I'm using those to brighten up the front of this card, and then I'm going to die cut a sentiment, and I have several different sentiments that I can pick from, and that's about it for what I accomplished today. I did go back to that journal page and I finished it out. It'll be in the final shots at the end. I hope you come and join us on Art Joy of Sharing. That's our Facebook group where we have challenges every month, and a number of them, not just one, and everybody shares, and we have folders set up in there where you can add your work. You just need to ask to join, and we'll get you in there as soon as you answer the questions and we know you're not a robot. So thanks for being here today, guys, and we will see you again soon. Love to you all, and remember to remain kind. Bye.